Sorry, I'm extra late today. I was trying to get over here and the traffic just seemed extra congested today. When I say traffic is congested, do you know what I mean? Congested. Does everyone know what that means? Okay, let me write that word down for you. Okay, so if we say something is congested, what does that mean? Blocked, yeah, like stuffed up. So what can be, I said today when I came over here, I was extra late today because traffic was congested. But what else can be congested? A water pipe, but even more commonly, what else? There's something else we often say that's congested. Maybe, but actually what I hear the most is your nose, okay? So if you got mala, right? You have a cold. Often people will say, my nose is congested. And if you say that, you can also say, I have congestion, or congestion would be a condition. You can say, so if you go to the store and in America and you buy cold medicine, medicine for your cold, often it will say relieves congestion, which means that it will relieve your stuffed up nose. It'll help you breathe more easily. So we can say congested or congestion. So you can say there was a lot of congestion today, or my nose, I'm suffering from congestion of my nose. Or you can say I am congested, okay, or traffic was congested, okay? So why don't we say it together? Congested, congested, congestion, congestion. Yeah, so I think anything that's blocked up, you can say that. But where I see this word used the most is for traffic, for the roads, and also for your nose. If you have a cold, people use that a lot. So anyhow, okay, so good to see you all again today. And I thought, I was looking through the newspaper just now, a few minutes ago, trying to pick out some good stories. And I thought this one was it's interesting because there's one or two details in this story that grabbed my attention that were kind of almost funny. So anyhow, I thought we'd start with this one. It says, ex-New York governor aide charged with spying for China. Of course, this is pretty big news in America, because if you're the aide for the governor, or ex-aide for the governor, that's a fairly high position. Now, you notice this word, I know we've talked about this before, AID, aid, normally means, if it's just AID, aid, what does that mean? Without the E. Yeah, it means like help, assistance, right? You can say, he gave me aid while I was sick, or I'm going to provide the United States will provide aid to that country. It means assistance, help, so aid. But if it has an E on the end, what does that mean? Yeah, it means then like a person, an assistant with a T, right? An assistant. You can say he is an assistant to the president, or an assistant here to the governor. So it's just that one letter with the E at the end that makes a difference in the meaning of the word. But the pronunciation is the same. So why don't we just say that together? Aid. Aid. Okay. So ex-governor, New York governor aide. This is the person who used to be the governor of New York, but they're the governor's aide, but they're no longer. So they're charged with spying. Okay, so I guess if they're charged, probably, as we say, 被起诉. Okay, so it says here, I'll read this. It says, a former aide to two New York governors on Tuesday was charged with acting as an illegal agent of the Chinese government who used her state positions to advance Beijing's agenda including by blocking access to by Taiwanese, including by blocking access by Taiwanese officials in exchange for financial benefits worth millions of dollars. Okay, so in Taiwan, often we talk about, you see stories about, people are accused of being Chinese spies. Well, Taiwan is not the only place, of course. We see this issue here in America. We have a very high-level person. Okay, so it says here, let's look at this. It says a former aide to 2 New York governors. So they weren't just an aide to 1 New York governor, but 2 different governors. Okay, and what a governor is, right? A governor would be like, I guess you'd say what, 州长, right? Okay, why don't we say it together? Governor. Yeah, now in Taiwan, we don't have a 州长. We have we have a president, we have the premier, we have a county magistrate or a city mayor, but there's no governor. Okay, so was charged with, okay, so they're accused, or when we say charged with, it actually means they have now official charges. It's like the prosecutors, the 检察官, have put a charge against them. It says charged with acting as an illegal agent. Okay, now an agent here could mean many different things, right? An agent could be like a spy, right? S-P-Y, a spy. Okay, but an agent can also be what else? What's another meaning for agent? What's a more normal meaning for agent? Yeah, it's like, what would be another word? There's one word I'm thinking of that is very similar to the word agent. I think of representative, like 代表人, right? So if, for example, if you are a movie star or a music star or a sports star, probably you have an agent, somebody who represents you. So if you want to, sign a contract, or if you want to, maybe go on TV and be, do 广告 for somebody, your agent will help you sign those agreements or those contracts. Or maybe you want to change to another team. So we call those people agents. But like someone said, I heard someone say, you could be a real estate agent, right? What does a real estate agent do? What's their job? Yeah. In Taiwan, I have many friends in Taiwan who are real estate agents. Okay. What does real estate mean? What do these 2 words mean? Yeah, housing, right? 房地产, right? So a real estate agent basically is somebody who sells houses. Or, well, it doesn't have to be a house. It could be an office building or anything like that. But yeah, I have many friends who are real estate agents, or also another one I hear a lot in Taiwan is insurance agents. Okay? Travel agents, that's a good one too. Actually, now it seems like in the world now, travel agents, there's not as many travel agents, right? Because people like to book their tickets online now. But I do still, here's a funny thing. I still like to use a travel agent. Why? Because they can take care of all the mafan. I don't have to worry about anything. And if I need anything, I just tell them, go do it. I don't have to go online and try to figure things out and call somebody up. I can just let the travel agent do it. So yeah, so the word agent gets used for many different things: real estate agent, insurance agent, travel agent, and I'm sure there's probably others. So if you represent something or someone or a company or business, you could say he is an agent. Okay, so why don't we read these together? Real estate agent, insurance agent, travel agent. Right, okay. And of course, if you work for a company like that, one of the words that we use, and not always, but sometimes, is that kind of company, we can call that an agency. Okay, that's an E. Agency. So we could say a real estate agency or a travel agency or an insurance agency. It's basically another word for the company. Okay, so someone says, oh, he works for a travel agency. Okay, that means he works for a travel service or company. So why don't we say that word as well? Agency. Agency. Okay, but of course here we're not talking about a real estate agent or a travel agent. We're talking about basically a spy or someone who works illegally for representing another government. Now, of course, you could be a legal agent, right? You could be official, like we say, what, FBI agent, or I'm sure in Taiwan they have the 调查局, right? Agent, right? So if you work for the government, of course, that's not illegal. That's legal. You're an official. You have a title, and we call them agents. But here it's an illegal agent of the Chinese government who what? Who used her state positions. Now, when we say state positions, this means we can simply replace this with what? We can simply say government. Okay, government position. So this was a government job, a government position. We could also say state positions to advance Beijing's agenda. So advance, of course, means to push, to promote Beijing's agenda. Now, we've talked about the word agenda many times, but what does agenda mean? Where do you normally have an agenda? Yeah, like a schedule. So it's like for a meeting, right? Before you go into a meeting, it's good to have an agenda so you know what you're going to talk about. So, for example, I'm a 理事 at the 台中美国商会. Every time we have a meeting, our chairman sends out an agenda before the meeting so that we know what we're going to talk about. But here, we're not talking about a meeting agenda. We're talking about what? What's this? Yeah, it's like your policy. It means your goals, your 目标, your policy. What am I trying to promote? So, for example, whenever you have a 选举, an election, each candidate is promoting their agenda. What is it that I want to do, right? So why don't we say that word together? Agenda. Agenda. Okay, and so what did that agenda include? It says including, what did she do? Including she blocked access by Taiwanese officials. Okay, what that means is that she blocked the access of Taiwanese officials to the New York governor or New York state government. Okay, so she blocked their, not the governor, but the Taiwanese officials access to. Now, if you have access to somebody, it means that you can talk to them, right? For example, sometimes someone will ask me and they'll say, oh, the mayor, Mayor Lu, so can I go talk to her? And I say, sorry, she has very limited access, meaning that not everyone can just walk in and talk to her because she's very busy. So often, if it's hard to talk to somebody or hard to meet with them, or it's very difficult, we say they are very inaccessible. Okay. Now, when we say inaccessible, this could be like it's hard to find, it's hard to meet that person and face to face. But it can also mean that a place can be inaccessible, right? So if I don't know, for example, if you said, what is the most inaccessible place in Taiwan? I don't know, maybe somewhere up in the Central Mountain Range, the Zhongyang Shanmai, somewhere up there. There's some very inaccessible places where it's very difficult to get to, or maybe even impossible to get to. So we say those places are very inaccessible. But we can use this word and say someone, a person is inaccessible. They're hard to reach. They're hard to contact, okay? So why don't we say it together? Inaccessible. Inaccessible. Okay, so here she was blocking access by Taiwanese officials. She was not allowing them to speak to the governor or the state government. Okay, in exchange for what? What did she get? In exchange for financial benefits. So basically money, right? So in exchange for means, what am I going to exchange for? Exchange means like to trade something, right? Okay, so, when I was, I don't know about you, I guess it's different in Taiwan. When I was, this is very common with American school children, but in Taiwan, I think most kids, when they're like in 小学, they go home for lunch, right? I noticed that many of them, at 12 o'clock, their parents or somebody picks them up and they go home and eat lunch. But in America, many students will bring a lunch from home, right? We often say a bag lunch or a paper bag lunch. Usually it's funny because your typical American student has a brown paper bag or a special lunch box, and they have their food in there. But what American school children, one thing they really love to do at lunchtime is trade food, okay? Or exchange food. It's very funny, right? Because maybe you open your lunch and you say, oh, you know, my mother didn't give me any candy. She only gave me an apple, right? I don't want this apple. But your friend says, well, I don't want this candy, so I'll trade you the exchange the apple for the candy, okay? And so kids will trade food with each other at lunchtime. It's very funny. It's kind of a tradition. But yeah, so they were exchanging things or trading things, okay? Another thing that I don't know if they do this much in Taiwan, but one thing in America that children love to trade is things like sports cards, like baseball cards, right? So, you know, you buy a baseball card and it has a picture of a player and their number and all their information. They have this in Taiwan, right? Do they have baseball cards? Or maybe not. Okay. So anyhow, it's a great tradition. You buy a pack at the store and it has kou xiang tang inside. It has a baseball, maybe 3 or 4 baseball cards, and then you buy it. But when you buy it, you don't know what's in there, right? You can't tell what's in there. So when you get your cards, maybe I already have this card or this player. So what do? I trade it with another friend. Maybe my friend needs that card and I want his card. So we trade, we exchange. So anyhow, this word exchange is used a lot. Why don't we say it together? Exchange. Exchange. Okay, so in exchange for financial benefits worth millions of dollars. So this was very profitable for her. Okay, so let's read this together. A former aide to 2 New York governors let's say it again, New York governors on Tuesday was charged with acting as an illegal agent of the Chinese government who used her state positions to advance Beijing's agenda, including by blocking access by Taiwanese officials in exchange for financial benefits worth millions of dollars. Okay, so it says here, Linda Sun, or I guess that's Sun, I don't know, Sun. Anyhow, I'm sure that in America everyone says Sun. Linda Sun, who held numerous posts in the New York State government, including Deputy Chief of Staff for New York Governor Kathy Hochul, I think that's right, and Deputy Diversity Officer for former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, was arrested on Tuesday morning along with her husband, Chris Hu, at their $4 million home on Long Island. So they've got a lot of money. I don't know. In Taiwan, maybe if you live in Taipei, maybe this is normal. I don't know. But in America, if you live in a $4 million house, you've got a lot of money. I mean, that's a very high-end American house on Long Island. So she's got money, or they've got money. Okay. So it says here she's held numerous posts. Now, of course, what's another word for numerous? Many. Yeah, we could say numerous. You could say he has numerous jobs, or he has numerous interests, right? Many things that he is interested in. Why don't we say the word together? Numerous. Numerous. Right. You can see it looks like the word number, right? So numerous, many, numbering and many. So numerous posts. Of course, post is simply another word for position, right? Job. Your job. What post does he hold? What position does he hold? Numerous posts. We could just say many jobs in the New York State governor, including Deputy Chief of Staff. Okay, so that's like you're the head of the. It's a little bit like I guess you'd say 秘书长, or kind of like the Chief of Staff. It's like the head of the people underneath the governor. Of New York Governor Kathy Hochul. She's the current governor. And Deputy Diversity Officer. Okay, this is another position or title for former, okay, the ex-former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. She was arrested on Tuesday morning with her husband. Okay, so, okay, any questions? Anything? It is chief of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Yeah, because Joint Chiefs means all the branches of the military, like Air Force, Navy, Army. So the chief of the joint, they're the head of all of those. Yeah. So that we would say a chief of the joint. I'm not sure if it's joint. Joint is in there somewhere. I don't know if it's joint chief of staff or chief of, I think it's joint chief of staff. But anyhow, yeah, it's a military position. Okay, let's read this together. Linda's son, who held numerous posts in the New York State government, including Deputy Chief of Staff. Let's say it again. Deputy Chief of Staff for New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Deputy Diversity Officer for former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo was arrested on Tuesday morning, along with her husband, Chris Hu, at their $4 million home on Long Island. You know, I think you know where Long Island is, right? If you have New York City, and then right next to New York City, there's this island, and it's a long island. I mean, it's long, but it's just next to New York City. And many people who work in New York City live on Long Island. It's a very big island. I have friends that have lived there, and yeah, it's very nice. Actually, there's some very middle-class communities and towns, and then there's some very rich towns in Long Island or on Long Island. No, there's usually a train. You can take a train or you can drive. But yeah, it's a very big island. I don't know how many miles or how many gongli it is. I would guess that maybe it's at least 50 gongli long. So it's a big island. Yeah. Staten Island is over by New Jersey. Staten Island, yeah, is very middle class. It's not. Long Island has a very famous community called, let me write it for you. It's got a funny, what? No, it's actually called, it's a funny name. Martha's Vineyard. I don't know who Martha is, but Martha is usually a woman's name, right? What's a vineyard? Where you grow grapes, you know, 种那个葡萄, right? So, you know, where you grow grapes, like for wine and things. So it's called Martha's Vineyard. So this is a very, very expensive, rich town in Long Island. So people like movie stars, Hollywood stars, or, you know, former presidents, they might have a vacation home in this town. I think a lot of people go there for vacation. So they have a house there just for summer vacation or summer house, and they might spend time. So yeah, it's a very expensive town in Long Island or on Long Island. So yeah. But yeah, you mentioned another island that's actually part of New York too. It's called Staten Island. And Staten Island has a very different reputation. It's a little bit more, I mean, it's middle class, but it's well, it's next to it. It's nearby. Statue of Liberty is not on Staten Island, but it's close to it. So yeah, Staten Island is across the harbor closer to New Jersey. And so people also, and for Staten Island, people will take a ferry, a boat to New York City. But for Long Island, they usually take a train or drive. Yeah. Special boat. Oh, you went to Staten Island. Okay. Yeah. Staten Island, I think Staten Island has a reputation for being a lot of, we say blue collar workers, people who I'm not saying they're poor, but they're lower to middle range middle class. They work there, they live there, and they work in New York. So yeah. Okay. Let's go on. It says, federal prosecutors said that Sun, at the request of Chinese officials, blocked representatives of the Taiwanese government from having access to the governor's office and shaped New York governmental messaging to align with the priorities of the Chinese government, among other things. Okay, so federal prosecutors. Now, I've shared this with you many times, but in America, when we say federal, what does that mean? Central. It's like 中央政府, okay? Now, in Taiwan, we do not use this word, and I would say that actually most countries do not use this word, but in America, they use the word federal for central government, 中央政府. I think in 德国, Germany, they also use the word federal, but it's not a very common term. But why don't we say together, federal, federal, prosecutors, prosecutors. And what's a prosecutor? 检察官, right? Yeah, I mean, we've been hearing about that a lot in Taiwan recently, right? So yeah, it says federal prosecutors say that Sun, at the request of Chinese officials, so the Chinese officials requested at the request of. So this is a very common term, right? If someone says, why are you doing that? You say, I'm doing that at his request. Means he asked me to do that, okay? I'm helping her at the request of her parents, okay? Her parents asked me to help her. So this is a very common expression, at the request of, okay? Or you can simply say, I request that you. So request simply means to ask, right? If you ask, or, I ask him to help me. I requested that he help me, okay? So she blocked representatives of the Taiwanese government, okay, from what? From having access, here's that word, access to the governor's office. So they couldn't go in and talk to the governor. And she also shaped New York governmental messaging. Okay, so when we say, of course, this is a 形容詞, governmental or government, we could simply say government messaging. Okay, messaging means what messages are we giving out? What like almost like 政策, what policies or what things are we saying to align with the priorities of the Chinese government? Now, this is a good word, to align with. What does to align with mean? To go along with, right? To almost like to echo something, to go, to follow. Maybe that's another way, to follow, okay? But alignment means, like, if when I think of alignment, if we have, for example, if we have two lines, right? You have one line, but you want this line to also align with it. It means it follows the same path, right? This word we say, also another word for that is parallel, right? Parallel. Parallel means like this. How do you say it in Chinese? Parallel. So it's almost like the same idea. If you align something with something else, it's parallel with that thing. It follows the same line, okay? It's very interesting. For example, if you have a car, sometimes you have to go and get your tires. You have to check the alignment. This is a 名词, an alignment. Sorry, I think I'm spelling that wrong. 1L. Alignment of your tires. It means that your tires, your four tires, 轮胎, have to be in the right, matching each other, right? They have to be. If one tire is out of alignment, it's going to cause trouble for your car. Your car is not going to run smoothly. It's going to feel strange. But you want to make sure your 4 tires are all aligned, or maybe your 1 tire will have the tire will wear down more quickly than the other tires. So anyhow, sometimes we say, you go to the mechanic, you go to the car repair store, and you say, please check the alignment of my tires, okay? So again, it's this idea that everything is in line with each other. So she worked to make sure that the New York government's messaging, what they say, aligns with the priorities of the Chinese government, what the Chinese government thinks is important, okay? So this word align with is a very good expression. For example, if you are having a discussion with somebody, maybe you're trying to promote an idea, and you can say, okay, I'm happy that we align with each other, or his ideas align with my ideas, okay? It means that we match each other, we're the same, okay? Okay, so any questions on that? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think an attorney would be a prosecutor. Attorney course is like another word for a lawyer, right? So I don't think an attorney for the federal government necessarily is a prosecutor. A district attorney would be like the chief prosecutor. So yeah, it could be, but I don't know. I'm sure they have other attorneys that their job is just to provide legal advice or legal representation for the government. So they may not be prosecutors. They may not be 检察官. But yeah, of course. But like he said, the district attorney or the attorney general, the attorney general is the highest level lawyer in the federal government. They're like in charge of everything. They're like I should know this. I think, I'm not sure with the federal government, the attorney general, I'm not sure if they're an elected position or they may be appointed. They might be an appointed position. Yeah. That's something I need to go home and research. I should know this. We say DA is district attorney. Yeah. So, okay. So yeah, those are important positions. Yes. The what? Shape. Okay. So shape. She shaped New York governmental messaging. Shape means to shape something, right? To mold it, to make it what would be a good word? To mold or to, there must be a more simple word. You could say influenced, 影响, yeah. When you think of shaping something, I don't know if any of you like pottery, tao, what? So when you make a pot, right, and it's on a wheel, you shape it, right? You make it into, right, or you use your hands to shape something. So here it means to shape it, to form it, right. She made it the way she wanted it to be. She changed the shape of it. Of course, this isn't a pottery, this isn't a bowl, this is a message, right? So when you shape something, when you influence it, when you change it, we say to shape New York governmental messaging. Okay, everybody understand that? Okay, so let's read this. Federal prosecutors said that Sun, at the request of Chinese officials, blocked representatives of, let's say this word again, representatives, okay, the Taiwanese government from having access to the governor's office and shaped New York governmental messaging let's say these words, governmental messaging to align with the priorities of the Chinese government, among other things. Right. Of course, when we say among other things, it means there's other things. It's almost like saying etc. Dung dung. You know, it's like there are other things too. Okay. So, and of course, priority, I think most of you know, priority is what's important to you. You can say, what are your priorities in life? Someone might say, well, I want to take care of my family. I want to make some money. I want to have a good, we have many priorities in our lives. Okay. So let's go on then. It says, see what she got in return. It says, in return. So what did she get? You know, she did these things for the Chinese government, or she's accused of getting these things doing these things for the Chinese government. So in return, her husband got help for his business activities in China, a financial boost that prosecutors said allowed the couple to buy their property in Manhasset, New York, a condominium in Hawaii for $1.9 million, and luxury cars, including a 2024 Ferrari, the indictment said. Okay, so they're making lots of money, okay? So basically her husband the Chinese government helped her husband do business in China, and then he made lots of money. It says a financial boost, okay? Boost means what? To give you some extra help, right? Like, if you have a 喷射机, right? The engines provide boost for the airplane to take off. So anything that gives you power or boost, right? Sometimes when people don't feel like they don't have any energy, they drink energy drink for extra energy boost, right? To give them extra energy. So we say a boost. Okay, why don't we say together, boost? Boost. Okay, it's another way of saying help, right? Help or extra power. That prosecutors said allowed the couple to buy their property in Manhattan. Now, this is not Manhattan, but it's a town called Manhasset, okay, on Long Island. Whenever I see a word like this, a name like this, I think this is definitely a 美国原住民, like American Indian name, Manhasset. Just like Manhattan is also that. So Manhasset, New York. It says here a condominium in Hawaii. Now, this is an interesting word. We've never talked about this. What is a condominium? Yeah, it's another word. It's a word that we use a lot in America, but I never hear that word used in Taiwan. It's like an apartment. But I think a condominium, I think it's almost always an apartment. I don't think it's ever like a house. But in America, when people say, I'm going to buy a condominium, when you hear the word condominium, it sounds kind of fancy. If you say I'm going to buy an apartment, people are like, oh yeah, whatever. It's, whatever. It's not, very normal, 很普遍的, right? But if someone says I'm going to buy a condominium, that sounds a little bit nicer. Okay. Now for short, many Americans simply say condo. Yeah, I'm going to buy a condo or a condominium. Okay. So why don't we say the word together? Condominium. Condominium. Condo. Okay, so she bought a condominium in Hawaii for $1.9 million. Okay, that's also pretty expensive. Although for Hawaii, that's not too bad. And luxury cars, including a 2024 Ferrari. Okay, so the indictment said, now an indictment is, when you 被起诉, they have a paper, right? A document that says why you're being prosecuted. What are the charges against you? We call that an indictment. Okay, this is an official document. How do you say this in Chinese? It's yeah, 起诉书, right? Okay, yeah. So now one thing I want to say about this word, it's very funny. To indict is to 起诉, okay? This letter here, C, we do not pronounce. We don't say indict. we say indict, like it's like ITE. Okay, so why don't we say together, to indict, to indict. And then this word, indictment, indictment. Yeah, so I don't know why they have the C there. It's kind of strange, but yeah, it's indict. Okay. Okay, so let's read. Any questions? Anything? Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 It could be. I mean, of course, America, the highest court is Supreme Court, right? Yeah, I'm not sure either. Yeah, revoke, yeah. It's a good question. So revoke, and then repeal. Repeal is a word that we almost use for laws, 法律. Okay? So if you repeal a law, it means that when you had a rule or a law and then you 取消, right? You cancel the law. So the word repeal is almost always used for a law, repeal. But revoke can mean to take back something. Like in this case, one court had a ruling, a decision, and the other court took that decision back. Now, revoke can be used in a much more normal way. What else can be revoked? Your driver's license, yeah. So I read recently that if you have too many problems with the government will revoke your driver's license, right? You cannot drive anymore. So they will take your driver's license away. They take it back. So, or they cancel it. So this revoke has a slightly different meaning than repeal. Repeal is always with a law, like you repeal a law. But legislation. It could be, yeah. But I think revoke has it's a very broad word. I'll give you another example of revoke. I can have my privileges revoked, right? So what would be my privileges? Let's say your parents can revoke your privileges. So let's say your parents say, on Friday nights you can come home at 11 o'clock. You can stay out late with your friends. But then one day you come home too late, and your parents say, we're going to revoke your privileges. Means you have to come home at 9 o'clock now. You cannot stay out late. Okay? So your parents can revoke your privileges. It means you have the authority to take away some privilege. Of course, driving a car is a privilege, right? It's not something anyone can just do. Well, should be. And if the government revokes your driver's license, they take away that privilege. Okay? So revoke is a very broad word. There's another word when it comes to the court. One court cancels another court. Another word that we often see is the word overrule. Oops, sorry. I think I'm spelling this right. Overrule. Okay, so you can say 高等法院 overruled the decision of the 地方法院 or something like that. It means they decided they made a different decision from the lower court. Or a judge can overrule another judge or some other decision. So these are all words that we see a lot. They're good words. Why don't we read these together? Overrule, overrule, revoke, revoke, repeal, repeal. Yeah. So anyhow, just any other questions about that? Okay. Okay. So let's read this paragraph. It says, in return, her husband got help for his business activities in China. A financial boost that prosecutors said allowed the couple to buy their property in Manhasset, New York. A condominium in Hawaii for $1.9 million and luxury cars, including a 2024 Ferrari. The indictment said. Let's say that word one more time. Indictment. Right. I'm going to give you a little note that most Americans that I know don't follow. But I think I've told you many times that my mother grew up in Hawaii, right? So if you live in Hawaii, the proper way to say Hawaii is you pronounce the second I separately, right? Many of my American friends who are not from Hawaii, they say Hawaii, right? But if you go to Hawaii, they say Hawaii, okay? So they pronounce the second I with so it's Hawaii, okay? Yeah, just like if you have Ka'aidao, it's Kauai, or, Maui, it has that I gets pronounced, so yeah. It's a Hawaiian language, yeah. Taiwan. Yeah. Yeah, Polynesian, or we say Austronesian. But I think Maori language in New Zealand and Hawaiian language are some similarities, but I think there are differences too. I heard that there are certain words that the Yuanzhuming use in Taiwan that the people in Hawaii also use. The same word for certain things, so yeah. But yeah, I've told you, I went to Hawaii and I was there, I go there quite often. And even the local Hawaiian people, they will say, oh yeah, long thousands of years ago, our ancestors came from Taiwan. So yeah. Austronesian, yeah. So when we talk about that culture, I don't know if I've shared that with you. We call that Austronesian, I guess we could say culture, Wenhua. Okay, Austronesian. So that would include the Taiwan Yuanzhuming and the people in Fiji and Tahiti and Samoa and Hawaii and some of the people in New Zealand. Now, of course, there are these other cultures that are underneath that. For example, Hawaii and Tahiti and Samoa, we call that Polynesian culture. Okay, so this is kind of, Austronesian is a very broad term. And then under that, we have Polynesia, which would be, again, like Hawaii, Tahiti, Samoa, Fiji, and those islands down in the South Pacific, Polynesia. So, yeah. Why don't we say it together? Austronesian. Austronesian. Polynesian. Polynesian. Of course, this is the region. We can say Polynesia is the area, right? Polynesia. Yeah. Okay. Let's go on here. Okay. This is the part I thought was kind of funny because in some of the 头条新闻 in America, they mention this. It says, son also received smaller gifts, the indictment said, including tickets to performances by a visiting Chinese orchestra and ballet groups and Nanjing-style salted ducks that were prepared by the personal chef of a Chinese government official and delivered to son's parents' home in New York. So I saw many of the American headlines, 头条新闻, when they said Nanjing-style salted ducks, they're like, she got money, but she also got this. I don't know what Nanjing has. Is it Baya? Banya. Okay. Yeah. So is it good? It must be good, right? I don't know, but it should be good. I hope it's good, right? Because they gave it to her, right? So I thought that was kind of funny, right? They, as part of their, they don't give hongbao, they give Nanjing-style salted duck. Okay. So yeah. So it says here, she got tickets to performances by Chinese orchestra, like a 交响乐团 and ballet group, 芭蕾舞 that were prepared. Oh, so these ducks were prepared by the personal chef of a Chinese government official, their own personal cook. Okay. Okay. Any questions about this? Okay. Let's read this then. Sun also received smaller gifts. Smaller gifts. The indictment said, including tickets to performances by a visiting Chinese orchestra and ballet groups, and Nanjing-style salted ducks that were prepared by the personal chef of a Chinese government official and delivered to Sun's parents' home in New York. Right. Okay. Just remember here, I think you all know, you said this correctly, but just remember ballet, we do not pronounce the T, right? We don't say ballet, we say ballet. Okay, so ballet. Right. Okay. Yeah. Polynesian. It's Polynesian is part of Austronesian. It's under this. So Austronesian also includes some other groups. Southern hemisphere. Right? Yeah. There is another group, and I don't think I'm not quite 100% sure, but it also may fall under Austronesian. We call it Micronesia. And Micronesia is another region. So when you think of Micronesia, Taiwan has some 外交朋友 like Marshall Islands and Palau. Those would be part of Micronesia, whereas Polynesia is further south, usually. So anyhow, Micronesia is another region. And I believe that Micronesians, not all, but some Micronesians also are part of this Austronesian group. So you can go home and Google that. Yeah, look it up. Okay. Let me just see here. Okay. Anyhow, let's read one more paragraph and then we can go to a different story. It says, a BBC report said that the indictment against Sun lists occasions in which she worked to prevent Taiwanese representatives from either communicating with or meeting high-ranking officials in the U.S. government. So there were occasions, there were times, okay, when we say occasion, we mean a time during which she worked to stop Taiwanese officials from either talking to or communicating with or meeting with high-ranking, high-level officials in the U.S. government. So she was trying to block Taiwan from having any contact with them. Okay? Let's read this. A BBC report said that the indictment against Sun lists occasions in which she worked to prevent Taiwanese representatives from either communicating with or meeting high-ranking officials in the U.S. government. Right. Okay. So, let's read this too. I want to read. It says here. Let's just read one more. I want to read this. It says, "It's all been taken care of satisfactorily. Sun is said to have bragged in one 2016 message to a Chinese consular official after successfully diverting a top New York politician from an event hosted by Taiwan." Okay, so first of all, if you say something has been taken care of satisfactorily, this is a 副词, right? So what does this mean? I think you know. What does that mean? Yeah, it means we were successful, right? To my satisfaction. And when you're satisfied, you're 很满意, right? Satisfied. So if you do something satisfactorily, it means you did it up to your level of satisfaction. It means I'm happy with this. I'm satisfied with this. 我对这个很满意, right? I'm very satisfied. So why don't we say together, satisfactorily? Satisfactorily. Okay, so this is what she said. It's all been taken care of. I basically 我解决好了, right? Sun is said to have bragged. And what does brag mean? Yeah, exactly. To boast. Okay, so boast or brag means that you say, hey, look at me. I'm so good. I did a great job. If someone is very proud of themselves, they may brag or they may boast about something, okay? So, yeah, this is a very common word, brag or boast. So why don't we say together, brag, brag, boast, boast. Yeah. So she is said to have bragged in a 2016 message to a Chinese consular official. Now, when we say consular official, I think we've talked about this, every country has a embassy, right? 大使馆. But a council is like a consulate is another office. It's like a what do you call it? 理事. Oh, 领事, right. We call that a consulate. Okay. So,領事, yeah. And so a consular official, actually when I say consular official, I think sometimes we even call an embassy, we could say an embassy official, but consulate would be like New York would have a consulate. Why? Because New York is not the capital. New York is not the 首都 of America, although they sometimes act like they're the 首都 of America. But the Chinese government and most governments have a consulate in New York. So we would say a consular official. So why don't we say together, consulate, consulate, counselor, counselor. Okay, so she bragged about this after successfully diverting a top New York politician from an event hosted by Taiwan. So Taiwan had an event, and there was a top New York politician, 政治人员, and she diverted them. Now, what does divert mean? To divert something, what does it mean? Well, usually it means to send it in another direction, right? So, for example, let's say it's raining very hard and the water is coming down this way, but we want to avoid, 淹水, flooding. So we divert the water to another place, maybe into a river or to an ocean. So we send it in another direction. So let's say there is a 车祸 on the road and the road is blocked. So then the police will divert traffic on another road. They'll say, don't stop, go this way, don't go that way. So we're diverting the cars or the traffic in another direction. So it means to send something in a different direction. Yeah, so here she kind of stopped a New York politician or from going to a Taiwan event. Okay. Now, the word distract is a little bit different. Distract means to take your focus or attention to somewhere else. But there is a word that's when we say a diversion. Sorry. Okay. Diversion is the 名词 version of this, but a diversion can have a slightly different, like she said, distraction. A diversion can also be something that you do that is something that is like, it's like something you do that is separate from your job or your work. It's almost like something you do for fun, something you do to amuse yourself. Like, for example, someone says, what are your favorite diversions? Yeah, watching TV or playing computer games or hiking. You know, I like, you know, 爬山 or, you know, or going bicycling or going shopping. You know, those are all diversions. It means those are things you do to kind of get away, you know, from your normal life, and you go and do something different, usually for fun or relaxation. So that word diversion can mean, it can be some, and she just said the word distraction. Distraction, or to distract, of course, is means to take your attention away from something, to distract. But if we turn this into a distraction is also to, you know, a means to take away your attention from something. But sometimes I think we can also use the word a distraction, could be used in a more positive way, like a diversion, you know, something you do just to get away for fun, a distraction, or fun distraction, or something like that. So anyhow, why don't we say these words again one more time? Divert, divert, diversion, diversion, distract, distract, distraction, distraction. Right. We can say, for example, media, electronics, screens, your phone is a big distraction, right? Sometimes when you're trying to do your work or focus on something and your phone is distracting you, it's taking away your attention from something else. Okay? So let's read this together. It's all been taken care of satisfactorily. Satisfactorily. Sun is said to have bragged in one 2016 message to a Chinese consular official. After successfully diverting a top New York politician from an event hosted by Taiwan. Right. Okay. So yeah, so now, you know, she's in trouble. Her and her husband are both in trouble for this. And I don't know what the penalty is, but any questions about? Mm-hmm. I think America has a law, and the law is a Foreign Agent Act, right? So basically, if you are taking money from a foreign government to do something, you need to register, you know, 报名 with the 美国政府. Basically, you tell them, you say, I'm working for this 外国政府. They're paying me to do this, and you register. But if you don't register, then you're in trouble, and especially if you're working for the U.S. government agency, right? And you're taking money and benefits from the Chinese government or any foreign government. It doesn't have to be the Chinese government. It could be the Taiwan government. It could be the German government. But if you're taking money from them and you're also working for a U.S. government agency, That's illegal. Okay. Yeah, because they want, and I think many other governments have since then also passed similar laws that say if you're working for a foreign government, if you're taking money from them, you need to you need to register, you need to announce that, because yeah, it's to prevent this kind of situation, right, where somebody is working for another government to do something. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else? Okay. Oops. I have a very similar story that I saw today. Because we're talking about spying, right? So I thought this one was kind of funny too. So this is not from the U.S. side. This is from the Chinese side. Okay. And what are the Chinese telling their people? And I thought this is kind of interesting. So everybody's worried about spies today. No, actually, yeah, they have a problem with this too. But yeah, they have that mayor. Remember that mayor? They just arrested her in Indonesia. Okay. So here it says, beautiful foreign spies are targeting students, China says. I thought this is kind of funny. So it says here, China's State Security Agency yesterday warned students with access to sensitive information against falling for handsome men or beautiful women who might entice them to spy for foreign powers. Okay, so they're telling this announcement is for students. Okay, so they're saying, well, students with access to sensitive information. So if the student somehow, for some reason, I don't know why, has access, they can get access to sensitive information. Now, I'm not sure what sensitive information is. Is it government information or, inside information about China? I don't know. So they warn against falling for. Okay, what does falling for mean? Fall in love with, right? You can say, oh, he's falling for her. It means he's falling in love with her, or he's deeply attracted to. Okay, so for falling for handsome men or beautiful women who might entice them. Okay, now here's another good word. What does entice mean? Yeah, kind of, but seduce and entice have a slightly different idea. They're very similar, but entice is a broader word. If you entice someone to do something, it means there's a word that comes to my mind. It starts with an L. Does anyone know what I'm thinking of? Lure, yes. L-U-R-E. To lure, okay? Now, when you go fishing, right, you lure the fish with bait, right, B-A-I-T. You have maybe a worm, a tong or something else. You put it in the water, and the fish is lured to that bait, and they bite it, and then you can catch the fish, right? So to lure someone or lure a fish or lure means to entice them, right? You provide something that looks attractive, and then you get them, you catch them, okay? To seduce, I think, is it's slightly different. Seduce is more about, it's more about men and women. But you can be seduced. It's more of, how do I say this? It's more of, it just has a slightly different idea. You can be seduced by a man or woman, but you can be seduced by an idea as well, right? Like someone has an idea that is very attractive to you, and then you're pulled into that. So again, it's similar to entice, but it's, I guess we could say it this way. Seduction, or to seduce, is a way of enticing somebody. So entice is a much broader word, but seduction or seducing is a kind of enticement. It's a way of, yeah, exactly. So enticing can be a 形容词. You can say, my company gave me a very enticing offer. Okay? what might that be? Usually it's money, right? We're going to raise your salary. We're going to give you more 薪水, right? You can say that was and if we want to turn that into a 形容词, then it becomes, I'll just write the whole word. Enticement. So that's a T. Enticement. My company gave me an enticement. E-N-T-I-C-E-M-E-N-T. Enticement. Or you can say, what kind of enticement is he going to give you to help him, right? Okay. So it's almost like saying, what 好处, what benefit am I going to provide to you? But yeah, so it's a good word. It's a good word to know. Entice, to entice. This is very enticing, enticement. But when we use the word seduce, like he just said, to seduce, this word, for some reason, I think has a slightly more negative idea to it. It's almost like when I hear the word seduce, it's almost like it's false promise. It's trying to convince you to do something that's not right. I'm not saying it has to be that way, but it could be. I have that association in my mind. Whereas entice could be positive or negative, either way. Anyhow, I think you get the idea. So why don't we say these words together? Entice, entice, enticing, enticing, enticement, enticement. Okay, and then this word, lure, lure, seduce, seduce. So I want to, what's the 形容词 of this word? Do you remember? Yes. So let me see if I have room. Maybe I should just start a new page. Alluring. So if you say something is very alluring, it means it's very enticing. It's something you look at and you think, oh yeah, I like that. That looks very attractive, right? Something I want, okay? So alluring. Why don't we say it together? Alluring. Alluring. Right. So yeah. Okay. So let's read this together. China's State Security Agency yesterday warned students with access to sensitive information against falling for handsome men or beautiful women. Women who might entice them to spy for foreign powers. Okay, of course, when we say powers, it just means countries. Foreign power would be a foreign country. Well, yeah, I guess it's a bigger country, but I don't think it actually has to be a big country. It just means a foreign government, a foreign power. Just remember, of course, woman, singular, women is for plural, right? More than one. So let's say it one more time. Oh, okay. You mean for handsome men and beautiful women? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So why don't we say this together? Women. Women. Yeah. Okay. Okay. It says here, the Chinese Ministry of State Security has promoted claims that foreign spies are working to lure, there's that word, lure, loyal Chinese to betray their country, often in lurid and unusual ways, since opening a WeChat account last year. Okay, so this government agency is like to promote their 国内安全 or whatever, it's state security. Promoted claims. Okay, so there are claims. People are claiming. So they're 宣传, they're promoting this idea that foreign spies are working to lure. Okay, here's the word lure, loyal Chinese. Now you know the word loyal, right? Loyal means what? Faithful. Yeah. So you're loyal to your country, or you're loyal to your husband or wife, or loyal to your friends. Why don't we say together, loyal? Loyal. And if you want to turn this into a 形容词, you add a ty, right? Loyalty. You can say, I have great loyalty to my country, or I have great loyalty to my company, right? Okay. So why don't we say it one more time? Loyalty. Loyalty. Okay, so they're trying to lure loyal Chinese to betray their country. And what does betray mean? Turn against, right? It's the opposite of loyalty, right? So sometimes if we, one expression we say, to sell out, right? You can say he sold out his country. He's selling out his friends. It means he's betraying them. It's almost like you're taking something to get rid of them, okay? To sell someone out, okay? So why don't we say it together? Betray. Betray. Right. So if you can say, I really feel betrayed by my friend. He betrayed me. Or there was a great betrayal. You加一个 al, betrayal. That becomes a 名词, a great betrayal. Okay. So often in lurid and unusual ways. Now, lurid is a very interesting word. Does anyone know what this word means? What? What? It could mean sexual. Lurid. What's a good description of the word lurid? I'm trying to think. What's another word for lurid? Yeah, when someone describes something as lurid, it just seems kind of not ambiguous. It's almost like he said, sexual or dirty. You know, sensational. I don't know if you know the word sensational. Yeah, it's like if you hear someone says, oh, there's a lurid story about that Hollywood actor, it means it's a story that's kind of sensational. It makes people shocked. You know, maybe there's something about sex, or maybe it's a little bit strange or weird, or, you know, just kind of like shocking. Okay. So the idea of lurid it's usually, you know, someone's lurid behavior or a lurid story or lurid way of doing something. It just has a kind of a strange, weird, kind of sensational. I don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to describe what this word means. Does everybody kind of understand what I mean? Okay. So if you ever hear the word lurid, like a lurid story, usually it means something that's bad. Okay. It's not good. And it's a little bit shocking. But often shocking in a kind of often this word gets connected to like sexual, people behave in a sexual way or do something wrong in a sexual way, and we say lurid, okay, a lurid story, okay? So it's kind of this shocking story. I hope everybody understands what I'm trying to mean here. But why don't we say together, lurid. Lurid. So lurid and unusual ways, okay? So they're saying that, you know, this is what they're talking about here. Okay. Okay. Right. So it's shocking maybe in a sexual way. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah. Okay, so let's read this together. The Chinese Ministry of State Security has promoted claims that foreign spies are working to lure loyal Chinese to betray their country, often in lurid and unusual ways. Okay, one more time, lurid. Since opening a WeChat account last year, okay, you all know what WeChat is, right? WeChat's a little bit like Line, right? It's something that people use a lot in China. Okay. It has warned that foreign spies have countless disguises and can even change their gender, and called on citizens to build 1.4 billion lines of defense against threats to the country. So it's kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of amused by this language. Okay, countless, what's another word for countless? Many, right? Countless means I cannot count them. There's so many. Yeah, numerous, or numerous. Yeah, if we look in the sky at night, we see countless number of stars, right? Means you can't count all the stars. So countless just means many, many, or many, a lot. Why don't we say together, countless? Countless. They have countless disguises. What's a disguise? It's a way of changing your appearance, right? If you wear a disguise, or disguise can be a 名词 or a 动词. If you disguise yourself, it means you change your appearance, often so that people will not know who you are or recognize you, right? So you can say, I am wearing a disguise, or he is wearing a disguise. Okay, so it's a way of changing your appearance, the way you look. Why don't we say together, disguise? Okay, now remember the pronunciation is disguise, like a K sound. So let's say it again, disguise. Disguise. Okay, and it says here they can even change their gender. What's gender? Gender. Yeah, it's like you're male or female, right? Now, gender, of course, today is very controversial in America because people say, some people say there's more than two genders, Some people say there's other genders too, or I don't know. It's very controversial. Of course, you hear about transgender, right? Transgender would be someone who changes their gender, okay? So why don't we say this together? Gender. Gender. So, sometimes when you're filling out a form, like maybe an application, 报名表 or something, it'll either say sex, S-E-X, or it'll say gender. And then usually most people write male or female or whatever, Okay, so it says change their gender and call on citizens to build 1.4 billion lines of defense. So, of course, they're saying that every individual, every Chinese person, because there's 1.4 billion people, they should all be defending China. So lines of defense, okay, against threats to the country. Okay. I guess so. What's in China? They like to use. What's the other one? They use WeChat in China. Do they use anything else? Is it only WeChat? I think WeChat is from China, right? Yeah, because in America there is. Americans like to use WhatsApp. That's another one, WhatsApp. In China, I know they like to use WeChat. And of course, in Taiwan, everyone uses Line, right? So, yeah. Okay, so let's read this. It has warned that foreign spies have countless disguises. And can even change their gender. And called on citizens to build 1.4 billion lines of defense against threats to the country. Okay. Okay. So it says here, yesterday it accused foreign intelligence agencies of deploying romance traps to lure Chinese students. Let's keep reading. Foreign spies were using job ads and even online dating to lure and coerce young students, especially those with access to sensitive scientific research data, to hand over confidential information, it said. I have to say something. Whenever I hear China making these accusations or warnings, I usually think it's because they're doing the same thing, right? Seriously, every time they say, oh, you're doing this, it usually means I'm doing that. Yeah, don't do that. Usually means I'm doing it, right? So, I mean, I see this over and over again. Like, it's funny, like recently in the Nanhai, right, the South China Sea, China's government is always telling Philippines, stop causing trouble. I think, you're causing trouble. It's not like the Philippine, government's causing trouble. So anyhow, so let's see here. Okay, so it says here, foreign intelligence agencies. When you think of intelligence agency, you think of like the CIA, right, or whatever. Every government has one. Of deploying. Deploy? We've talked about many times before. Deploy is what? To put out there, to put into action. What do you normally deploy? You might deploy soldiers, right? A government will deploy. It means to send out. To send out, like to send somewhere, like assign. Yeah, maybe that's a good way of saying to assign, to send out. Of deploying. Okay, romance traps. Okay, why don't we say it together? Deploy. Deploy. You can also deploy like machinery or equipment. It doesn't have to be a person, or a weapon. You can deploy a weapon. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a person. Now here it says to deploy a romance trap. Okay, now you know that if you want to catch an animal, you have a trap, like a mouse. A mouse trap, right? People still use mouse traps. But it's very funny. There's another word that I see in America we use a lot for this. And usually they're talking about Russian, 俄罗斯 or Chinese. They don't say romance trap. You know what they say? No, there's another word. They say honey trap. Honey, is 蜜蜂, right? 蜜蜂, right? 蜂蜜. I always get this mixed up. Is it 蜂蜜 or 蜜蜂? Yeah. It's 蜜蜂 is honey, right? So it's a honey trap, right? Because it's very sweet, right? Okay, so why don't we say together romance traps? Romance traps. Okay, so it says here, foreign spies were using job ads. Okay, so they were promoting 广告 or advertising jobs, and even online dating. Right now many people use online dating services, right? And so they have to what? To lure and coerce young students. Now, this is a word that I don't think we've talked about this before. What is to coerce? It's a good word. Kind of, actually. It means to force or to pressure. I think the best word is to pressure, like to pressure somebody, but sometimes using threats. You might threaten somebody to pressure them to do something, right? So if you say, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to do this. That's to coerce somebody. It means to use force or threats to pressure somebody to do something, okay? And so the word can also be used as a coercion. Yeah, we can say coercion is a 名词. You can say he used coercion against them. Now, of course, this word gets used a lot for China's relationship with Taiwan, right? We can say China is using many ways to coerce Taiwan, or they're using coercion against Taiwan. They're threatening them. They're saying, do this or I will do that. They're coercing. So this is a good word to know. Why don't we say it together? Coerce. Coerce. Coercion. That's a zh sound. Coercion. Okay, so they're trying to lure or coerce young students, especially those with access to sensitive scientific research data, okay, scientific research or information, to hand over confidential information. We've talked about this before. What is confidential? Secret, okay? If we say that's confidential, do not share that with anyone else. This word gets used a lot. It's not only for government information, right? If you're talking to your friend, this happens all the time. You say, I'm going to tell you something, but please, this is confidential, okay? Means don't share this with anybody else. I'm going to give you some confidential information or news about myself, right? It means I'm going to share something with you, but you cannot share this with anyone else. So that word confidential is very good. It's a good word to use. Why don't we say it together? Confidential. Confidential. Right, okay. I don't think so, but who knows? Yeah. Yeah. No, but if we say classified, though, that's definitely more government. We would not use the word classified for our personal. So let me write that down because that's a good word too. So we say classified information. That word is always used for government. Like you say, this is classified information. If you share that, you'll be arrested, So it's official, it's government. But confidential could be government or personal or anything, secret. Okay, so why don't we say these words again one more time? Confidential. Classified. Right. Okay. Okay, let's read this together. Foreign spies were using job ads and even online dating to lure and coerce young students. Let's say that word again, coerce. Especially those with access to sensitive scientific research data. To hand over confidential information. It said. Okay, once again, I'll remind you this, we can say data or data. Either is okay. Data, data, either. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, allure is not usually they're very similar. They're almost the same word. Yeah, allure. But usually as a 动词, we would usually, most people use the word lure, L-U-R-E. Whereas, like I said earlier, alluring is like a 形容词, right? So, yeah. Okay, it says here, they may disguise themselves as handsome men or beautiful women and drag young students into romance trap. I don't know if it should be a romance trap. Into romance trap, it said. The ministry did not name which countries were behind the alleged scheme. What's a scheme? A plan, yeah. Now, remember this word scheme is pronounced with a K sound, okay? Let's say it together, scheme. Scheme. I do believe, and I could be wrong here, I believe that in British countries, they can say scheme, but I believe, I could be wrong, but in America, we always say scheme, okay? I have to check on that, but I think I've heard British people or people from English British-speaking countries, scheme? I don't know. Swana, don't worry about it. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, so let's read this. They may even disguise themselves. Disguise themselves as handsome men or beautiful women. And drag young students into a romance trap. It said, the ministry did not name which countries were behind the alleged scheme. Scheme. Right. You know where I've heard many, if you want to say, like we said, it seems like China does the same thing. Where I've heard a lot of people where they use what they use to get foreigners is and I use this, is LinkedIn. Do you know what LinkedIn is? Have you ever used it? Okay, it's like a professional or job networking website. It's a little bit like Facebook, but it's for jobs and for working and for professional, 关系, making connections with people. But I've heard many times that LinkedIn, the Chinese government will use LinkedIn to find people or get people. And it's very funny. I've actually seen, in LinkedIn, people can request to become your friend, and you'll get a request from somebody. And sometimes I'll get requests from China, and I noticed the profile photo is always a really attractive, really beautiful woman. And every time I see that, I just 取笑 because I think, 算了, it's why, anyhow. I'm very suspicious when I see that, LinkedIn request from China from a very attractive, beautiful woman. I think, okay, that this might be something like this. Okay. So, yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing many opportunities here. So, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So, we're almost done here. It says here, however, it warned that spies might be disguising themselves as university academics, scientific researchers, or consultants, luring students short of cash in what it called targeted infiltration. Okay, so spies might be disguising themselves as university academics. What's an academic? A scholar. So, we use the word scholar a lot, right? SCHOLAR, a scholar. But another word for a scholar would be an academic, right? You can say he is an academic. Academic can also be a 形容词, right? You can say, what academic subjects do you enjoy the most? And someone might say, oh, I like math, or I like biology, or I like history, or I like English. That's an academic subject. Or you can say, I'm my academic career, right? Maybe when we say an academic career, usually we're talking about university or graduate school, your time spent studying, okay, in school. But here, of course, academic as a 名词 means a scholar, okay, 学者. Okay, so why don't we say together, academic. Academic. And then that word, scholar. Remember, it has a K sound, scholar. Okay, so university academics, scientific researchers, or consultants. And what's a consultant? Yeah, advisor or 顾问, right? Someone who consults. This word gets used, a business consultant, academic consultant, 顾问. Okay, so why don't we say together, consultants. Consultants. Okay, and says they're luring students short of cash. Now, if you're short of cash, that just means what? You need money, right? This is a very common expression. Cash, of course, means 现金, right? So if you say, if your friend says, hey, do you want to go out for dinner tonight? And you say, sorry, I can't. I'm short of cash this month. It means I don't have enough money this month, or I just don't have enough money. In what it called targeted infiltration. Sorry, I can't move this up any further, but infiltration or to infiltrate, what does that mean? Let me write that word here. This is the 动词. Infiltrate, what does that mean? Yeah, it means to kind of, to secretly enter or to secretly go into somewhere. So if you infiltrate another country, it means you go in that country without them knowing about it. It's secret. Like a spy, basically. Infiltrators. Yeah, infiltrators. So yeah, it's this idea of kind of secretly, coming in or entering some other place or finding out something about them. It's even New York, right? So yeah, everywhere. So yeah, infiltrator or infiltrate. So why don't we say this word as a 动词, to infiltrate. To infiltrate. And then this is a 名词, infiltration. Infiltration. Okay. So of course it says targeted infiltration means that they are targeting specific people to infiltrate that country, to secretly spy on that country. So yeah. It's not a term, I mean, many Americans know that term, but it's not really a term we use too much. It's a term that was very much connected to the Cold War, 冷战, and communism. And so during the Cold War in America, people talked about fifth columnists. These are people who infiltrated American society for Sulian, for Russia, or Soviet Union. But it's not a term I've heard much recently in America. What? Yeah, fifth column. Yeah, yeah. Do they use that term in Chinese? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So anyhow, let's read this and then we'll be done. However, it warned that spies might be disguising themselves as university academics, scientific researchers, or consultants, luring students short of cash in what it called targeted infiltration. Infiltration. Right. Okay. That's all I have time for today. So see you next time then. Thank you. Oh, and happy Moon Festival, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Are we? When's our next meeting? 2 weeks. So after Moon Festival. Okay. So 中秋节快乐. Yeah. Yeah.